Hi guys, this is the reproductive system presented by Neil Justin Bernales. And in here I will be answering the questions that was given to us by our teacher. For the first question, describe the structure and explain the function of the male and female human reproductive system. So first off, let's start with the male reproductive system. The male reproductive system consists of sexual organs, accessory glands, and a series of duct systems that provide a pathway for sperm cells to exit the body and fertilize an egg. Male genitalia only equips an organism to initiate fertilization and does not support the development of a growing fetus. Male sex organs include the penis, testes, scrotum, epididymis, ductus deferens, urethra, seminal vesicles, ejaculatory duct, prostate gland, and Cowper's glands. So the penis, it is the main organ involved in sexual intercourse. This organ is composed of erectile tissue, connective tissue, and skin. For the testes, it is the male primary reproductive structures that produce male gametes and sex hormones. Testes are also called testicles. For the scrotum, it is the external pouch of skin that contains the testes. The epididymis, it is the system of ducts that receive immature sperm from the testes. The epididymis functions to develop immature sperm and house mature sperm. For the ductus deferens, it is a fibrous muscular tubes that are continuous with the epididymis and provide a pathway for sperm to travel from the epididymis to the urethra. Urethra, it is a tube that extends from the urinary bladder through the penis. This canal allows for the excretion of reproductive fluids and urine from the body. Seminal vesicles are glands that produce fluid to nurture and provide energy to sperm cells. Tubes leading from the seminal vesicles join the ductus deferens to form the ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct. Duct formed from the union of the ductus deferens and seminal vesicles. Each ejaculatory duct empties into the urethra. Prostate gland. Gland that produces a milky alkaline fluid that produces motility. The contents of the prostate empty into the urethra. And lastly, the Cowper's glands. Small glands located at the base of the penis. In response to sexual stimulation, these glands secrete an alkaline fluid which helps to neutralize acidity from the vagina and urine in the urethra. And now is the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system is comprised of both internal and external reproductive organs that both enable fertilization and support embryonic development. Structures of the female reproductive system includes labia majora, labia minora, vagina, clitoris, cervix, uterus, fallopian tubes, and ovaries. Labia majora is a larger lip-like external structures that cover and protect other reproductive structures. Labia minora is a smaller lip-like external structures found inside the labia majora. They provide protection to the clitoris, urethra, and vaginal openings. The clitoris is a sensitive sexual organ located in the uppermost section of the vaginal opening. The clitoris contains thousands of sensory nerve endings that respond to sexual stimulation and promote vaginal lubrication. Vagina, fibrous muscular canal leading from the cervix to the external portion of the genital canal. The penis enters the vagina during sexual intercourse. Cervix, it is the opening of the uterus. This strong, narrow structure expands to allow the sperm to flow from the vagina into the uterus. The uterus, it is an internal organ that houses and nurtures female gametes after fertilization, commonly called the womb. Fallopian tubes, it is the uterine tubes that transport egg cells from the ovaries to the uterus. And lastly, the ovaries, primary reproductive structures that produce female gametes and sex hormones. For number 2 is to differentiate between asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, external and internal fertilizations, and indirect and direct development. Let's start with asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is a method of reproduction usually present in lower animals and plants where progenies are produced from a single parent without the formation of gametes and fertilization. Example: division of bacteria by binary fission, budding of hydra and yeasts, and vegetative reproduction in plants. While sexual reproduction is a method of reproduction where the progenies are produced by two parents of separate sexes. These parents produce morphologically and sexually different gametes. The union of gametes results in the formation of a zygote. The zygote develops into a new progeny. And for the difference between external and internal fertilization is that internal fertilization is the process when the syngamy, union of female and female gamete, occurs inside the female body after insemination using copulation, while the external fertilization is the syngamy is outside the female body that is in the outer environment, especially in watery bodies. For the difference between indirect and direct development is that direct development is a type of development in which an embryo develops into a mature individual without involving a larval stage, while indirect development is a type of development that involves a sexually immature larval stage, having different food requirements than adults. For number 3, describe the events associated with human sperm and egg production and explain how hormones influence them. Hormones are the drivers of human reproduction, responsible for sexual development and controlling the menstrual cycle. Sex hormones are responsible for driving sexual development, which is puberty, and the main reproductive hormones are estrogen and testosterone. Estrogen causes eggs to mature in ovaries once a girl hits puberty. These are then released at regular intervals during the menstrual cycle, while testosterone stimulates sperm production in males. For number 4 is to describe the events in human fertilization until childbirth, particularly the appearance of sex differences and what triggers them. So, fertilization is the process in which haploid gametes fuse to form a diploid cell called a zygote. To ensure that each zygote has the correct number of chromosomes, only one sperm can fuse with one egg. And the stages of human development is that the first stage is the zygote stage. The zygote is formed when the male gamete and the female gamete fuse. The second stage is the blastocyst stage. The single-celled zygote begins to divide into a solid ball of cells. Then it becomes a hollow ball of cells called a blastocyst, attaching to the lining of the mother's uterus. For the third stage is the embryonic stage. The major internal organs and external features begin to emerge, forming an embryo. In this stage, the heart, brain, and spinal cord become visible. Arms and legs start to develop. And for the last stage, the fetal stage, once the form features of the embryo begin to grow and develop, the organism is considered a fetus. Differentiation and specialization of structures happens during this time. For number 5, explain how contraceptives prevent pregnancy. So, hormonal contraceptives all contain a small amount of man-made estrogen and progestin hormones. These hormones work to inhibit the body's natural cyclical hormones to prevent pregnancy. The hormonal contraceptive usually stops the body from ovulating. Hormonal contraceptives also change the cervical mucus to make it difficult for the sperm to go through the cervix and find an egg. Hormonal contraceptives can also change the lining of the womb which makes it unlikely the fertilized egg will be implanted. So for the last question is to give examples of sexually transmitted infections. So first off is the human immunodeficiency virus, which is HIV, and acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, which is AIDS. Next is chlamydia, gonorrhea, pelvic inflammatory disease, genital warts and human papillomavirus, general herpes, HSV1 and HSV2, and lastly is the syphilis. That would be all, and thank you for listening.